On this episode of the Housekeeping Lunch Break, we're going to be talking to Lonny Wolfe, who has managed to keep the same staff for over 79 months. That's right, not one change in housekeeping for over 79 months. We are going to be hanging out at the Wine Room Kitchen and Bar in Delray Beach, Florida. Now, let's go have some fun and get down to the good stuff with Lonny Wolfe. This episode was brought to you by We Tip Hotels. We Tip Hotels allows you to give your employees a raise without you having to pay for it and without you having to pay payroll taxes for it. Give your employees the money that they deserve and let your guests tip them. Check out We Tip Hotels at wetiphotels.com. What's going on? You know who it is. It's Bruce Jordan. We're here today with Lonny Wolfe over here, and today we're going to be doing a housekeeping lunch break with my man, Lonny. Lonny, what's going on? What you been up to, buddy?
Great to see you, Bruce. As always, your dedication, your passion within this space is exceptional. Thank you so much.
Anytime. So, you see what's going on with COVID. How did COVID affect your old hotel, and how did you guys bounce back?
It's a great question. When you say affect the hotel, the only effect that we had, being a small boutique property, is that, we were instructed by the government to close, which we did for 2 months. After we closed for 2 months, I was at the property every day. Some of my team members were there every day, and we did different things within the property that we do out of season. So we were already ahead of the game. No one was furloughed. Everybody kept their positions at the property. Everybody got a salary. Very important. We kept the staff happy, and everybody was happy, and everybody got paid. When we were allowed to open the door and go full occupancy, as soon as that happened, I've been running between 90 and 100%. Being a boutique type of property where there's no elevator, open airspace has helped us greatly versus a brand property. A brand property, take a Hilton brand where you got to go in through the lobby, you have interior lobby. I don't have any of that. We do no contact check-ins since COVID. So we speak to the guests prior, they get the information prior. Depending on if it's Expedia, Booking.com, we'll take the reservation that day. The paperwork will be in the room. The instructions are there where to leave the paperwork. No interaction with the guests.
Your cleaning procedures, what are some of the changes that you made, so the guests feel more comfortable staying at the hotel?
Prior to COVID, the cleaning practices were always over the top from what I did, because being from Canada, owning a cleaning company for 24 years, cleanliness and hygiene is key. Be in the hotel space, the restaurant space, any space, gymnasium, doesn't matter what it is. Hygiene is always key. So prior to COVID, and that's a great question, I use peroxide type of products. I use a Johnson & Johnson product. With COVID, the only thing that's different is you and your partner have excused yourselves from that suite. We will go into the suite using an electric static gun and spray the room from the ceiling all the way down to the cushions where it gets in every crevice of the room. 12 minutes later, the team will go in, do their cleaning with a Johnson & Johnson product, the peroxide product, and then after they've done that and the room is ready for sale, yours truly will go into the room, inspect the room, and make sure it's perfect. And not only is it going to be perfect, but then I give it one more touch with another can, which is 99.9% COVID friendly and kills COVID, so the guest is getting extra protection. The goal in the hotel space is to continue at this pace, be me or anybody in the space, because you want reviews. Reviews tell the story.
Absolutely.
And the property is at 93.5% on excellent guest reviews, and I'm in the top 61 out of 3,200 hotels with reviews on TripAdvisor, pre-COVID, after COVID, period.
Nice. I'm so glad that you brought up that, you had your own cleaning company, because I feel like a lot of companies and a lot of hotels, they're having a really big issue with reducing their cleaning costs. And since you know all the vendors and you know how to negotiate with all the vendors on a daily basis, what are some of the things that they can do to cut their costs? Is it maybe a guaranteed volume that they can produce, or should they shop around a little bit more, or what are some of the things that work for you with your cleaning company?
Well, at the hotel, I use a product called Envirox, which can be purchased through different organizations. I get it through South Florida Janitorial in Florida. Envirox is a great multi-purpose cleaner It can take the stains off of a shirt, can take the stains off of a couch, can take the stains off of, it's great for toilets, inside toilets, outside of toilets. Away from the knowledge that I have, it's the products that I use. We don't need to carry 10 different products on a cleaning cart. We need to carry 2 products on a cleaning cart. I don't need to spend an exorbitant amount of money when I know what works in front of me. The problem in a lot of properties, again, I'll go back to pre-COVID, even COVID, people have on their housekeeping carts 10 different products. You don't need that many products. People are wasting a lot of money on products when you don't need to waste that type of money on those products. You just have the right product, and the team has to know how to use the product and understand why we use that product and apply the product.
So how many products do you usually have at your property? Is it?
I have an aerosol can, which is a Breeza spray. I have a Johnson & Johnson, and I have an Envirox, which is peroxide.
Nice.
And then the last thing is, like I said, is the electric static gun when you excuse yourself from the suite. Even before the housekeepers go into the suite, they're not allowed in the suite until the electric static gun is applied. 12 minutes later, they can enter the suite and do their magic.
So, the government and everyone is really pushing for a COVID shot and testing and all this other crazy stuff. How do you feel about making the COVID shot mandatory? And what are some of the things that we should do to help protect their staff and housekeepers when it comes to COVID?
Again, a great question, and I could be a perfect example of it. So I've had the Moderna shot, the first shot. I got it 10 days later. I had a bad reaction to it. Very bad. 3rd degree, looks like 3rd degree burns on the arms. I had to be medicated. I had to go on different drugs, and I had to go on different topical creams. So it has been a tough 2 weeks because of that. In regards to forcing the staff to do it, I wouldn't do that, and I'll tell you why. As long as they keep their measures in place, wear gloves, wear masks, and keep social distancing when they're at the property. And the other thing that I do when they enter the property is I take their temperature checks. If you have a temperature, you're sent home. It's never happened. And I show them what their temperature is. I don't just look at it and say, okay, you're good. I show them what their temperature is. So back to what you said, would I force them to do it? No, based on we don't know what each person's DNA is and what the reaction could be. I would feel terrible if something should happen to them because I said, you need the shot to come back to work. Absolutely. So if I take the precautions and allow, constantly wash your hands. When you're in the rooms, constantly wear your mask. When you're in the rooms, always have gloves on, period. If you take those measures in place, you will protect yourself and others that you're working with in the environment. I will not force you to have the shot because of what I went through and what other people have gone through from the Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna.
See, yeah, I'm still waiting for the results to come out on the people that actually took the shot before, I actually take the shot. So I think I got a little bit more waiting to do before they get the mix right.
And in closing with what you asked me about that, I have now been advised, which would be next week, I'm supposed to have my 2nd shot of the Moderna. I've been advised, do not take it.
Nice. Smart move. Now, when it comes to linen, everyone tends to have like linen issues where you inventory, keeping them clean, when to toss them, when to keep them, what your par level should be. What has worked for you in the past, at a lot of the properties that you manage as far as like, taking care of linen, your par levels and everything, dealing with the housekeeping department?
Linen is a huge part of the hotel space. The linen goes on the beds. The beds have to be done right. They have to be done on time. The guest has to check in on time. So, for me, let me go backwards a little bit. In the space, our property runs from 8 to 8. I arrive at 6:30 every day. By arriving at 6:30 every day, I can see what's going on in the linen department, housekeeping department, engineering department. I'm way ahead of the game. So when 8 o'clock rolls around, I'm way ahead of the game. So back to your question, linen, always want to have extra linens on in your linen in the housekeeping area downstairs. You do not want a case where someone smoked in a non-smoking room or they're not supposed to smoke at all, and you need to have linen. If you don't have linen, you got to take it from another bed. If you're running at 100% occupancy, you have a problem. Then you may be taking linen that's stained that you put aside. Okay. The linens, like I said, you want to have plenty of linen for backup, and the ones that are stained, don't throw it away. It can be cleaned. How are you cleaning it? Who's looking at it? I mean, just because there's a little stain on it doesn't mean there's a pile over here. Spray bleach on it and run it through your system. It will work.
I had people using peroxide. I had a what I call a overnight cycle where I would just scoop some. I would treat the stains, and then I would put OxyClean or a form of OxyClean inside of it and just let it run overnight. A lot of hotels don't even have that programmed inside of their washing machines. I don't know why.
And they should, because you can have systems through Ecolab that will do all the above. And even if you don't have that, say you're a small property, 39 to 52 rooms, and you don't have that type of commercial equipment, you can have the products on site to do it. When I go to the property, if I see a pile on the floor, I'm going to look at that pile. Why is it on the floor? They put it on the floor, there's a stain. Well, guess what? We can remove the stain with what you just said, which is the OxyClean, spray the bleach, run it through. We don't run it through because I send the linen out.
Oh, okay.
And when the gentleman comes, I put it in a certain bag saying, this is an emergency stain. This needs more attention than that bag there. Nice. So it's a matter of detail. I mean, they're not just picking up the linen, but they're picking up different bags, and that bag tells you that's a serious problem in that bag. It needs to go through twice, or they need to address it with what product they're using at their commercial factory.
You know, when I was looking at my housekeeping department, especially with laundry, laundry is a whole beast by itself. And I was running through so much linen, and then the presentation, I just hated the presentation because, my laundry space was so small that I couldn't afford to build one of those pressing machines.
Correct.
That folds it and all the other cool stuff. Yeah, I couldn't do that. So what I ended up doing was I kept the towels and stuff in house, and like the pillowcases and the sheets and stuff like that. I sent them out because I wanted them nice, pressed, and crisp. You don't want a guest laying in the bed with a bunch of wrinkles.
Absolutely.
So what I had to do was I had to increase my par level from a 2.5 to a 3.5 just to offset, and it helped me save some money on laundry as well. So because I didn't have to worry about putting that additional laundry person in there for that second shift overnight to do everything. When is it time to outsource? When is it time to bring some, to just have a 24-hour laundry shift on all the time from our 16-hour laundry shift on all the time? What helps you make those decisions and decide what your property needs to do and what's best for you?
Again, great question. I'm a small property with only 17 boutique rooms.
Nice.
So when you take a property that's 200, 300 rooms, it's a different play. You've got to have people, down in the linen area working. You've got to have shifts doing what's required to do. Give you an example. Where I am, we have the linen outsourced. The linen comes back. The linen goes on the bed, but it's not. You said it before. The presentation of the bed is very important. To me, it's very important. Absolutely. Before the guest checks into the room, the linen is stretched in every direction and pulled tight. Because when the guest isn't entered the room in several hours, it may go the other way. So it's always pulled. Appearance is everything for me in the linen department and what's sitting on the bed. Back to your question, if you need to have the manpower to get your linen done, where the housekeepers come in the next day and they're not sitting there wasting time doing nothing because the linen isn't prepared, there's a problem. You've got to have the linen in the basement ready to go, clean, on the carts for the housekeepers. Carts are you have an organized cart, you have an organized housekeeper. An unorganized cart, I've learned, take a Hilton brand out in Pennsylvania. The carts were so dirty that the housekeepers would come in the next day and spend 30, 40 minutes cleaning that cart that was a mess to get ready to go to the rooms.
Oh, that's terrible.
A waste of time.
That's terrible.
If the cart was prepared the day prior, including the linen on it, knowing what the load was going to be, they're way ahead of the game. The goal is to be ahead of the game from linen to housekeeping, because I know, as you know, that housekeeping is the heartbeat within any hotel, and the housekeepers, be in Canada, US, Asia, globally, are the hardest working art technicians that I know that love what they do.
Now, of course, my last and final question is going to be, when it comes to hotels, everyone has a housekeeping checklist. There are some things, I feel like sometimes the housekeeping checklist only covers the minimum or the basics. What are some of the things that you found that you had to add to your list as far as inspecting rooms that you never seen on anybody else's list? We're going to get to the good stuff right here.
So You're asking me if I've added something to the list?
Yeah, like you came into a property, you seen that it was missing a couple of things, or some places that nobody checks that you usually check just to make sure everything else is clean.
Actually, to answer your question, nothing. The only thing that's different is the electric static gun and cleaning the coils of the AC and going inside the vents. I'm held accountable in the rooms from the ceiling all the way down. I haven't learned anything from COVID because of the cleaning practices. I always acted as if there was some type of a health pandemic and wanting to prevent anyone leaving the property sick, and period, be me, the staff, or the guest. My cleanliness and hygiene practices, being in the space in Canada for so long, are over the top. I'm like the OCD doctor on clean. I mean, if I'm taking you through a tour of the property and I see something, I will stop, pick it up, and put it in my pocket, even if it's a fluff. I'm doing nothing really different in the rooms, and my team knows that every day I will turn up the fuss. Here's what's important when I'm in a room. As a gentleman, a man has to use the facilities. We often look the other way. We have conversation with my wife in the background. You know what happens. It's very important the housekeepers clean that area. What I don't like what's in a room is a stand-up toilet paper holder. They need to be cleaned. They need to be disinfected. They do stain from what I just said. When you instill in your team what should be done every day, it works. And I do it every day. Even though they know what they're doing every day, I still go into the rooms and bounce it off of them. Remember, we do this, this, and this. I start from the ceiling down, from the fans to the corners of the walls, art, cobwebs, and work my way down inside cupboards. Even, engineering at a property will go into a property when they get a service call. I don't have that problem, because when the room is inspected by me, I'll even check the P-traps and make sure they're not that the devices underneath are not leaking. And if they're leaking, I address it right there and then. And my team knows to see if there's a leak, to come and address it with me, and we fix it right away. I don't want the guest to have to come in and say, great room, but we have a leak. Nice. I avoid all that because of the inspection. I would never, in the hotel space, never sell a room until it's inspected. If the house director of housekeeping or the supervisor can't inspect it, then the GM has to get up and inspect it. I will never sell a room unless it's inspected and gets 99.9% guarantee, because the goal is for the guest not to come and see you with a complaint. The guest is the goal to come and say, wow, you guys did a great job. Can you recommend a restaurant?
Nice, nice. Now, from what I understand, you're a wine connoisseur. What do we got going on over here?
Correct. We're at the Wine Bar here in Delray Beach, a wonderful establishment, 411 East Atlantic Avenue. And he's got some of the greatest wines from all over the world. I've sampled and had wines that were the best of the world. And you and I have indulged in a great bottle of wine, a 2018 Cab Juggernaut.
Oh yeah.
And Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, for those of you who have watched the show, is a wine connoisseur. And as I continue to, mature in my palatable tastes in wine, I continue to learn. Wine is a great experience, from what you eat, from veal to steak to fish, what complements what you're drinking, the back end taste, the front end, both. So I do enjoy wine, and I'm glad that you got to experience one of those wines with me today.
So this Juggernaut right here, how much is this?
This is a $20 bottle, and it's rated 4.2 on Vivino, and it has an excellent rating. Phenomenal rating. It's a Cabernet. Okay. California Cab.
All right, so that's the Juggernaut. What do we got? What's this one right here?
These are all new to me. This is a Paul Hobbs. It's a 2014, and it's a Cabernet Sauvignon. It's from Napa Valley, and this is a $600 bottle of wine.
Okay, so this is a 2014 Paul Hobbs, $600. Oh, that's pretty cheap.
And this is a 1982, and pardon me because I don't have my glasses, so I'll let you take a look at it. This is the first time I've seen this bottle. It's a 1500. The Rothschilds is an excellent wine. I've been drinking Rothschilds since I was a young man, not at this high caliber. And this is a $1,500 bottle of wine at the wine bar.
Now, I knew they were good. They were known for banking. I didn't know they were known for wines. That's my...
Oh yeah, Rothschilds has been a... Mouton Cadet was a wine back in the day that I would drink, which was a Rothschilds. Very inexpensive wine, but a great tasting wine. That was the type of wine I would have with Creole food. It had, different wines complement with what you're eating. So I've learned a lot about wines over the course of coming to the wine bar and asking. It's like being in the hotel space. Ask questions, learn, keep asking. You'll always learn. I love to learn.
How much is this bottle?
$1,500.
15. Okay, let's make sure that is in the center of the table so it doesn't go anywhere. Man, so for everybody that's watching, that's having issues and problems with housekeeping during COVID, everybody's slammed, by the way. Especially in the Florida area, everybody is slammed. And they were staffing for 10% or 15%. If you're lucky, you'll staff for 40%. And now everybody's sold out because of spring break, and they're struggling to find housekeepers, and they're struggling to get the right people at the front desk, and they just wasn't ready for it. So you got a lot of general managers out there, a lot of operational managers out there. They're just they're trying to grasp the air, they're trying to come up and breathe the air, and they just get drugged back down. So what are some of the things that you've been able to do, like while you're sold out and able to make things happen for yourself at your property?
I can only tell you what happens with me, and I can indulge in the other properties. In the housekeeping department, in 79 months, I've had 0 turnover.
Nice.
And how have I had zero turnover? I respect what they do. They're not maids, they're cleaning technicians, they're artists. What they do is a hard job. And I respect what they do each and every day, up and down the stairs, linen, plus the cleaning, and the amount of pressure that's required of them to get to the next suite because of our turnover and our check-in time. So I've had no turnover. But what I can say to other properties that are much larger than what I run is to, as an example, as a general manager, our office hours are from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's great, but I'm there at 6:30 in the morning so I can oversee what's going on. If I need to get things going in the linen department, when they arrive, they're way ahead of the game. Anything that I can help the team with prior makes the day much more magical, much more easier, and much more successful. So going forward, I would tell a lot of general managers that take off your suit jacket, work with your team, be housekeeping, food and beverage, engineering, come in early, stay late. Just because you're there for 40 hours a week doesn't mean you can't allocate more hours. If you have the drive, passion, and it's sewn into you, you will do it. Unfortunately, a lot of people look at it as a paycheck and I'm just coming to work and I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't look at it that way. This is what I love, this is what I do, and I have the passion to do it. Arrive early, execute, have a successful day. Because in this space, there's no room for error. Very little room for error, because that error will cost you a review.
I agree with you. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, you just started your own company.
I did. I started what's called the Art of Housekeeping, redefining the standard of housekeeping success one hotel at a time. Being from Canada and being in the cleaning business for 24 years, I know hygiene, I know product, I know how to get it right and why to do it right. So let's just say whatever property it is and you're looking to use my services, you're not going to get too many people that turn around and say, if I don't execute, don't pay me. I put my money where my mouth is. You will learn from me, my style, my technique, from the moment I arrive to the property.
So your main goal and focus is to go to the property, hire, build out, train, and then watch everything come together as far as for you.
Not necessarily hire or build out, that's their job, but I will give them those instructions, what they need to do to get it right. So you take a property that's running at 32% excellent on their guest reviews on the World Board or OTA TripAdvisor. Those are bad scores. And if you look at the reviews, 90% of them are bad hygiene, dirty, unprepared, things that shouldn't be in the room, stains on the bed, just absolute dirt or filth. You can correct that, you can fix that, providing you want to do it. If you don't have the heart to do it, it ain't going to work. It will not work. You have to have the passion to do it. And when you have a property that's bad on the reviews and you can bring it all the way up, your reviews go up, you get bragging rights, which are awards, and you can increase your average daily rate.
Absolutely. I've been trying to beat that into people's heads, and they don't get it because they're not used to being that hotel. I find that some people are so scared to be number one, they'll settle to be number 5, because there's a lot that comes with being number one, and not everybody wants to put the hard work and the effort into being number one, because once you're number one, you got to stay number one.
And you know what? I always want to be number one, period.
So now you have a new company. You've been in the cleaning business forever. Like, so what's the next step for Lonny?
Away from being the GM of a property, my real passion is to make properties right and get them right and get them the awards, bragging rights, and increase their average daily rate. And it's something that I really enjoy, and it's not about the money. It's like taking a child and watching them grow up to become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or whatever, or a restaurateur. My goal is to make that property that I'm helping not number 5 out of 6, not number 2 out of 6, number 1 out of 6, number 1 out of 32 surrounding properties. That's the goal. Think outside the box, get it right, and teach them the right way of doing what should be done. And it starts from housekeeping, because that's where the main problem is. Cleanliness, the team, turnover.
Absolutely.
You want longevity within your team. Like I said, I've had no turnover in 79 months. You want longevity. How are you treating the team? How do you respect your team? Never yell at the team. Never belittle the team in front of a guest. Period. Never wave a finger in front of the team. They're just as important as you as an owner of a company. They're just as important as you as a GM of a hotel. They're no different than what I do or what anyone does. They're just as important within the space. Take the gentleman from, if I'm correct, from Hilton. He used to be a plumber. Gentleman was a plumber and became the CEO of Hilton, if I remember correctly. Doesn't matter where you are and what you do within the space. You can learn, you can grow, you can be an owner, you can be number one. You know, so my true passion away from being a general manager, it's different than being a consultant, because what happens is my phone will ring at midnight.
Yeah.
And my phone will ring that we have a 6 o'clock flight. We've indulged in a couple glasses of wine. We forget the safe code. I'll crack this. I'll go back to the property and I'll crack the safe. No problem, because I have to do it. Yeah. The guest is important. Doesn't matter what time of night it is. You got to get it done. When you consult, you do it, you execute, you're ready for the next day. It's what they learn, what they grasp, and how they want to do it. It's application. And housekeeping is the number one application in the hotel space.
For sure.
Cleanliness, hygiene, and the team. Setting up your carts, setting up the schedule, what's required. There's so much that's required. It's like being a chef, getting the James Beard Award. You just don't get the award. You get it for doing what you've done and understanding the space. It's the same thing with me. I understand the space. I understand what they need, their needs are. Housekeepers, for example, in Miami, will go across the street for 25 cents more. Yeah. But they go across the street for 25 cents more, but the respect level that they got is even worse than where they were.
There you go.
And then they want to go back.
There you go.
Stay, learn. And for housekeepers, don't be silent. Go to HR. Go to your boss, go to the general manager and say, I have an issue working with such and such, or you're putting too much on my plate, I need help. Don't be silent.
I had people come to, they'll come to you like, hey, you know what, this person's taking all my towels. It's just like, we'll just order more towels. Like, if you don't say anything, we don't know.
Correct. So communication is so key. Be in this space or any space. You need to communicate what you need and what you're not getting, and make it work. Because the worst thing to do is to come to work every day and be stressed and leave stressed and know, wow, nothing got accomplished. I know what I'm going to be in for the following day. The goal is to come in, have a successful day. It's challenging and successful at the same time. Housekeeping, for me, I don't call them maids. They're art. What they do is art. They're technicians in what they do, and they do a phenomenal job each and every day. But it starts with when they arrive, thanking them for the great work they did the day prior, thanking them for coming to work today. We got a big day, this is what's going on, let's get it done, high five, and there we go. And always inspect the rooms.
The Art of Housekeeping. That sounds like a really good book, actually.
And let me tell you, when my days come and I've finished in the hotel space and I'm sitting down with all my grandkids, I will write a book on not just housekeeping, but hospitality. There are things that I thought I saw within the space. There's always something new I learned the following day that shouldn't have even happened.
Well, how can everybody get in contact with you?
My webpage is being developed at this time. So right now you're going to search me and you're going to see no webpage. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm a big follower. People know who I am within the space. And you can email me at 351435@gmail.com. People ask, why do I use numbers? I don't use anything else. Those are properties that I've owned. Different numbers within different properties. So I always have a unique style with what I do. And I'm always there to help. That's my goal. And I'm also there where my passion is to help. And money is not the only source. And I put my money where my mouth is. And if I don't execute, pay me nothing. But I guarantee you, you will learn and you will apply. And I'll be your first and only consultant within.
That is fantastic. Well, that's our time for today. Thanks. We got to thank Lonny for joining us today. And this is another Housekeeping Minute. Nice little housekeeping lunch break. And we'll be talking to you soon.